Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. This is big. It's actually happening. Accountability. The Department of Justice is stepping in and they're whipping Tim Walz. Come on, come here, boy. Come on, come on, Nick. It's happening. Nick Moseder is joining us tonight. Nick Moseder, the 9-foot wolf, from his channel, a great channel, great guy. We love Nick. We love him very much. Right, Nick? So how are you, man? Let's hear from you. How is it going? How are the kids? How's the wife?
I'm good, man. It's good to be back. Kids are growing. I got a 4-year-old. My daughter's about to turn 2. When I started the YouTube journey, I didn't even have any kids, so I got a growing family, and we're back on YouTube. So I got banned like George back in, what was it, 2021?
Long time ago, man.
Yeah,
5 years ago.
Oof. Got the channel back 4 years later, and it's growing. We're getting somewhere.
Awesome. So Nick, tonight we have some breaking news for everybody. So let me just go ahead and bring this right into the frame here.
With some breaking news, you just mentioned it just moments ago. Multiple DOJ sources confirming to Fox News that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey are now both under federal investigation for allegedly interfering with immigration enforcement here in Minnesota. We are told that probe is early but ongoing. More on that for our viewers as we get it. In the meantime, despite a snowstorm out here in Minneapolis, it appears we are headed for yet another night of protest.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, the DOJ is taking things into their own hands. Good to hear from Pam Bondi. We've been waiting. Pam, where are you? This investigation is about Tim Walz and Jacob Frey, the mayor. Frey? Is it Frey or Frey? Oh, I don't care. he's
fried. He's cooked.
Yeah. This is the mayor learning Somali so he can torque for their votes in the Twin Cities. Well, he's under investigation now as well. And it's because they've been antagonizing ICE, antagonizing federal law enforcement. Tim Walz recently put out a video, a live stream that he had to delete because everyone was laughing at how bad the technical issues were. And he was encouraging his voters, the people, the Democrats in Minneapolis, to go harass ICE.
ICE agents cannot conduct these activities. Can help. So carry your phone with you at all times. Help us establish a record. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. To peacefully help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans. So carry not just to establish a record for posterity. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone.
Nick, I thought echoes were for us YouTubers with technical difficulties. That's a governor with, I don't know, a bunch of aides, staff that can help him set up his videos, set up his stream, and he's echoing. But he was telling people to go to ICE facilities and go disrupt law enforcement activities, do what Renee Good did. And I think that's actually disgusting. Here's another thing the mayor, Jacob Frey, said himself.
And we're in a position right now where we have residents that are asking the very limited number of police officers that we have to fight ICE agents on the street, to stand by their neighbors.
Did you see the police chief behind him go, "What are you talking about, man? What did you just say that for? we're under all this pressure and you're saying these people need to go out and fight?" That's disgusting. So that's the message they've been pushing, Nick, which is for their base to go out and antagonize ICE. But now the DOJ is stepping in. Todd Blanche, who is assistant U.S. attorney, was actually down on the ground setting up this massive investigation.
Room full of immigration agents and officials telling them that the Trump administration is standing by them and they should not have to do their jobs in fear.
There's this narrative on social media that they're going to get in trouble, that locals are going to go after them. That is bull.
Blanche told the agents the DOJ will go after anyone who lays a finger on them.
Time your officers get touched, that is a federal crime being committed against them. And my marching orders from President Trump all the way on down, Attorney General Bondi all the way on down, is that every single time that happens, we will prosecute.
Blanche tells Fox the Trump administration will not tolerate Governor Tim Walz or Mayor Jacob Frey's anti-ICE rhetoric.
when the governor or the mayor threaten our officers, when the mayor suggests that he's encouraging citizens to call 911 when they see ICE officers, that is very close to a federal crime.
Close. That's a federal crime. So what we are seeing is the beginning of what we've been asking for, Nick, which is accountability for these people to see some jail time. And we're going to get into analyzing this a lot more. But here's what Tim Walz is doing right now. Nick, Tim Walz, who was saying that his government, his state was at war with the federal government, is now saying, hey guys, let's turn down the temperature. His tone, the song he was singing, the lyrics have changed. He's now, hey guys, let's not investigate me. Let's not go after me. Here's Tim Walz today.
Well, I said this yesterday. We've never been at war with our federal government. I think in this case that the National Guard is their main mission. They have a dual mission. Well, I said this yesterday. We've never been at.
Oh, sorry. That was the clip from him saying we are at war. But today, Walz is giving an appeal to Trump saying, let's turn the temperature down. Stop this campaign of retribution. This is not who we are. And he's appealing, saying, I know this is scary. We must speak out loudly, urgently, but also peacefully. We cannot fan the flames of chaos. That's what he wants. So that's because this investigation is a huge thorn. Is it thorn on his neck or thorn on his side, Nick?
I believe it's thorn in his side.
Okay. Yeah, it's a big thorn in his tampon. Where, anyway, look, what's also going on is federal officials have confirmed to Real America's Voice, John Solomon from Just the News, that they are gathering signed affidavits from credible Minnesota Tim Walz employees and preparing criminal referrals in the rampant fraud case. According to the sources, 6 deep staters were just removed at the DOJ in Minneapolis, so the Department of Justice division out there. Here's that news from John Solomon. This is like a lot of news, man. This is a lot of news.
So the big news that we got in the last 24 hours is that Tom Emmer, the number 3 member of the House, Republican leadership, he has confirmed on the record that congressional investigators are now have Minnesota state employees. We've known that there were these whistleblowers, these state legislators were talking to them. They've now become federal and congressional whistleblowers, and they're signing affidavits. And what Tom Emmer says is in the affidavits is people saying, I personally talked to the governor and his staff, Governor Tim Walz and his staff, and I told them about this fraud, told them it needed to be stopped, and they did nothing. They looked the other way. That is very significant. Now, Tom Emmer said, I think that's enough to bring criminal charges and to put the man in cuffs. Now, that is a very significant moment because Congress will take that testimony. It will make a criminal referral. And there is a U.S. attorney out in Minnesota, no glitz, no glamour, but they are rolling up indictments and they mean business. And it is very likely that Tim Walz will not only be hauled before Congress, but this evidence, if referred from Congress to the U.S. attorney and the Justice Department, could result in Tim Walz becoming a subject or a target of the investigation. That's certainly what Tom Emmer thinks. Meanwhile,
That's some big stuff. Gotta say, that's very encouraging. And last thing I want to share here is Tim Walz. He said something very ironic. He said, in reply to the investigation that is now open against him, 2 days ago it was Lisa Slotkin. Last week, it was Jerome Powell. Before that, Mark Kelly. Weaponizing the Justice Department against your opponents is an authoritarian tactic. Oh, man, it's rich. The irony is rich. The only person not being investigated for the shooting of Renee Good is the federal agent who shot her. Tim Walz is saying it's an authoritarian tactic for the Trump DOJ to investigate him. How crazy is that, Nick?
Yeah. Do we need to talk about weaponizing the government against government officials and the people. Let's talk about the Biden administration. I mean, do we have to go down the list of the names? This is crazy, and I got to say, it's kind of almost a little bit disappointing to me because I was under the impression Tim Walz and Jacob Frey were already under investigation. I mean, what does it take to actually charge these people with a crime?
Yeah.
They allowed Minnesota to become a fraud factory under their watch, a pirate Somalian fraud factory. And this video of Tim Walz calling on people to pull out their phones and record ICE, document incidents, and basically dox ICE agents. That's just one piece of the puzzle. Jacob Frey told them to get the F out of Minneapolis. Walz is ICE, he's called them Trump's masked men, implying that they're like the Gestapo, the secret police of Trump. And they've been encouraging people to seek retribution. And this is the same state, the same place where they literally burned the city down after George Floyd.
Yeah. And they're encouraging that same exact behavior. So I understand that there's probably 2 investigations. Well, this one's confirmed, the investigation on them impeding federal law enforcement, which is a serious investigation because the barrier to prove it is pretty low. You just need to be antagonistic towards them. And we have enough clips of them doing just that, insulting them, encouraging people to go and disrupt their operations. I mean, what are you doing when you tell these white liberals to go out in the middle of the day and whistle and honk and drive cars in front of their scenes, their arrest scenes? What are they doing? It's impeding law enforcement. So I think Tim Walz and Frey are in big trouble. But the other investigation is on their connections to the fraud. I've been reading about Frey's wife. She's supposedly involved with the Somalis that were charged in the Feeding Our Future scheme, which could be big. It could grow as a huge story and implicate the mayor himself. So they're all under investigation, but this is the investigation that I think actually nails them, because I think Tim Walz was allowed the fraud to happen. He benefited from it, but maybe there's no evidence that he was like pushing the buttons, fabricating records and defrauding the federal government. But there's definitely public evidence of him attacking federal law enforcement.
Well, there's absolutely evidence that he suppressed the allegations of whistleblowers and did nothing about it.
Yeah.
And at the very least, he's guilty of dereliction of duty.
Oh, yeah.
When it comes to all this violence against ICE agents, they're supposed to be the ones upholding the rule of law, not enabling and encouraging and stoking the flames of a violent mob. They're supposed to be upholding the law. It's their responsibility. And they're creating they're making it so that Trump has no other choice but to invoke the Insurrection Act.
Yeah. Well, because they think it's going to be highly unpopular. But I'm going to be honest. I think most people in this country, if they saw the National Guard mobilizing in Minnesota, they'd be happy, because everyone has a really decent memory of when BLM took over Minneapolis and ripped it apart, wrecked it, billions of dollars in damage. Everyone remembers that. So whatever Jacob Frey and Tim Walz think will happen, if Trump sends the National Guard in a meaningful way, it's not going to happen. It's not going to go down the way they think. But Nick, what I also thought was something to note, and then we can kind of wrap this up, was the police chief, who is a crook, admitted that protesters are committing unlawful behavior. Now, Jacob Frey was in the background and he was pissed. So even within the law enforcement apparatus in the city, they know what is going on, what is being encouraged is completely illegal. You had something to say?
I did. Oh, I think I was going to just kind of expand on the Insurrection Act thing. I think that it is absolutely, at this point, Trump's responsibility to invoke the Insurrection Act, because it is these people, the local law enforcement, have essentially been told to stand down. They're not doing anything about these rioters, these violent people that are obstructing law enforcement. They're destroying federal property. And it is, imagine what it's like to be one of these ICE agents. The level of
Yeah.
fear and anxiety of being, I mean, vastly outnumbered by a mob of people that essentially would celebrate something bad happening to you.
Yeah.
Okay. And so these are people that have wives and children and families that they want to come home to. And they are putting their lives in jeopardy every single day. And somebody has to make sure these people can carry out their duties, not to mention these people that they're trying to apprehend and deport. Many of them are violent criminals, gangbangers, they're rapists, murderers. So these are people that they're preventing them from apprehending and deporting.
Yeah.
People that could potentially commit more acts of violence because ICE wasn't allowed to do their job. So
Right.
I believe that on some level, Trump is responsible, obligated. And if he doesn't, and I'm a huge Trump supporter, so I'm not, but I do think that on some level, if he neglects to do something about what's going on in Minnesota, that would be dereliction of duty on his part.
Yeah, I mean, it's also happening in Portland. You saw the ICE officer, well, I don't know how many agents were there that had to open fire on these Tren de Aragua gang members that came in with shovels and tried to hurt and possibly more than hurt the agent. So I think, yeah, at this point, it's just what he has to do. Sign the Insurrection Act and use the military, because the Supreme Court's ruling was he couldn't use the National Guard because that would be a last resort. He had to go and use the Marines first. He had to go and use the normal military. So let's just use the normal military. I don't know what they're doing. Yeah, what are we waiting for? We saw Nick Sorter, another Nick, getting bombarded by these lunatics. And they damaged his car. And I think it might have been a rental car. So he's going to have to pay a lot of money. And the police were nowhere to be found. A lot of these cities, and this is the sad reality of this country, have essentially been handed over to adolescent criminals, whether it's Memphis, Chicago. They've been handed over to these Antifa, weird-looking people who all have the same hair-colored style. These cities have just been handed over to these crooks, and it's honestly disgusting to see. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we don't want to elongate the live stream here like Nick's beard. Go ahead and search that description. Nick Moseeder's channel will be linked. If you're watching on TV, pull out your phone. Don't be lazy. First of all, hit the like button. Pay your rent around here, okay? Like, come on. What are you guys doing? Pay your rent. Go subscribe to Nick's channel. And, yeah, good night.